Hello, my name is Dale Wilhite. I'm right now in Alpine, Wyoming. If you want to find out anything about me, go to MySpace, Facebook, or Twitter where I have accounts. This here is just a simple message in which I'm trying to do my part in helping fight domestic violence. And it's just something that I wanted to pass on that I hope parents will get. And I hope those who will have children, especially, if you have a daughter in the future, something that you will remember that I tell you. Because this could mean the difference between life and death. And it can possibly save your daughter from being a victim of abuse, especially continuous abuse. It seems like when women are abused for the first time and they let it go on, even if they break up with a guy, they'll go find some other guy that's just as abusive, if not worse. And I haven't figured that one out yet. I guess you have to be a woman to understand something like that, obviously. But here is a something that you can do that's relatively simple, and it must start with your teenage daughter, and it must begin. You must tell her this uh, before she goes out on her first date or scheduled date, or when you know she's going out on a date. But you may have to pass this on even before that because sometimes they'll date sometimes when you're not even aware of it, especially if you're working. But let's just say you're preparing your daughter to go out on her first date. Well, here's what you need to tell her, and your husband needs to be involved in this as well. You need to teach her to tell this guy on their first date when they get out alone somewhere that, she's not a punching bag. She's not going to be abused by anybody and never will. And she needs to look him in the eye and give him a very poignant stance or look. I'll put it, look, let's just use the word look to make sure he gets a message. If she has a reputation right from the beginning that she's not going to tolerate being abused physically or verbally, that will send a message out to all the guys, especially in her school, that this is not someone you're going to play. You're going to boss around, or you're going to punch around. All girls and teenage girls need to be taught this. They need to learn this before they even go out on their first date. And possibly, if they can learn this and practice it on their dates, for every date they go on with a new guy. If some girls like to date different guys, nothing wrong with that, and it doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean they're immoral or anything. Um, they need to pass that on. You see, the problem is that a lot of these girls get into trouble right from the beginning because they somehow have this idea that somehow they need the guy more than he needs her. Well, let me tell you something. Coming from a man, I can tell you we need women a lot more than women need us, especially these days. Maybe a long time ago, women needed men more for making it through life because life was so hard. It was a lot more physical. But today, with all the conveniences that we have, it's unfortunately for we men, women don't need us as much. But it wouldn't make any difference even if a woman does need a man totally. Completely dependent. It still doesn't justify any kind of abuse. Simple as that, and vice versa. But what I'm trying to say though is that you can teach your daughters right from the beginning, while they're young enough, while their minds are still open. Please do not let these guys abuse you in any way. Make it very clear to them that if you are hit, you teach your daughters to tell the guys this. If you are hit, slapped, that the date ends. If it's enough of a slap or hit, I'm going to call the police. I'm going to have you arrested for it. And I'm going to make sure every girl in the school or in the community knows that you're an abuser. And all women should point out abusers, guys that have a history of abuse. But you need to be able to prove it. Don't just accuse somebody of something, get yourself sued doing that. So that's basically what my message is there, is that it does start in the home. And it starts where you can sit down and have a talk with your daughter. And again, the father needs to be involved in this and teach her right from the beginning. Tell this guy, I'm not going to be punched. I'm not going to be verbally abused. I won't do you that way either. And you're going to have to toe the line. You're not going to do it. And if these girls learn this right from the beginning, they will not become victims, I believe, in the long run. But you let it start and they let it pass. Well, he just slapped me once or he slapped me twice. Then it's going to take off and she's going to end up dead somewhere. That's no other way to put it. And of course, if you have a son, you need to teach him the very same thing, that being a man does not include hitting on women. Of course, there are some women out there that scared the life out of any man and can handle about any man. And of course, there are women out there that can put a 38 slug right into a guy for being abused. So, women are not completely defenseless. And of course, you have some women that are quality experts and can manhandle themselves or handle themselves pretty well. But it doesn't matter if you can or cannot. The abuse is unacceptable behavior. And that's what the boys, while their minds are still open, need to be taught. That is not being part of a man, abusing a girlfriend, abusing anybody at all. Because if they abuse their girlfriends, abuse their wives, then it could lead to abusing their children. And that's where it goes. And I can tell you some of the biggest horror stories about child abuse. I've been in it, and I come out barely alive from it. I've had my nose broken 3 times, my jaw broken 3 times, my left arm broken, left out in the snow to freeze to death, scalded with hot water. I know all about child abuse, and so nobody has to preach that to me. But it will lead to child abuse if a woman dates and marries a guy that's abusive. And it can be the other way around too, because the person who abused me was not a male, it was a female stepmother. And she did everything she could to kill me for a year and a half. So it can go both ways. That's why abusive people have to be identified right from the beginning. And they need to be put in their place right from the beginning, because they are very dangerous. And again, it will continue. So I'm just hoping that any parents that see this will pass this on, that have teenage daughters, and teach them right from the beginning, and just stay on them with it. Make sure they understand that they have to tell this guy that. And when they've done so, have them come back after the date or whenever to tell you what they told him. If it scares the guy off, too bad. That's a good thing, because he may be someone that has a bad temper or something. But a lot of these women or teenagers are getting abused, and later on as adults being abused, because they don't stop it right at the beginning. It starts in the home. It starts when they're young, and you lay down the law right then and there to the guys that they go out on a date with, and tell them, you are not going to ever touch me. And she's got to say it in such a way that it gets his attention and maybe puts the fear of God into him. And if he can't handle that, that's his problem. He's not much of a man anyway if he can't handle something like that. Anyway, thank you for your time, and I hope this message helps out, because I really can relate to people who's been abused. I really know what it's like. Thank you for your time. Bye.